because it's like he's brilliant. Google has done, the good thing about Google, the best thing about Google, is that they really get the net. There's a wonderful book by Jeff Jarvis called What Would Google Do? That pretty much nails where they're coming from, which is that they at some visceral, deep level, they get the, what I call the giant zero nature of the net. What the net wants to do is put everybody at zero distance from everybody else at no cost. That's why the phone companies are squeezed. That's why a lot of other people who are in intermediary positions are squeezed. They get that. But I worry that all of their generosity, all of the stuff they put in the cloud, the maps, everything else, not only creates a great deal of dependencies, but it kind of short circuits natural history in some ways. So I have friends, in fact, two of my consulting clients are in the phone business, and somebody there said, well, what Google's doing is, the phone business is a big beast, and they're feeding a dock rope into one end of the beast, and they're waiting for it to come out of the other, and they're going to pull it straight. That's what they're going to do. And that's going to be tough. I mean, look at Navtech and TeleAtlas. Okay, these are companies that made billions selling data, geographic data. Google's doing their own. They used to buy it from those guys. Now, I've got a GPS in my car where Microsoft used to make $9 a month or something like that, give me really bad traffic data. My iPhone gives me really great traffic data. It comes from Google. It's free. Well, that's good for a lot of stuff. But it puts a lot of other stuff out of business. Is that good or bad? Well, it kind of accelerates history in a way, but it's also a little bit odd in the sense that one unrelated business is paying for all this. The lesson taught there is that what we call because effects. You look for second and third order effects of making money because of something and not necessarily with something. But I think it's going to be interesting. So.
I put to you that this is not a zero-sum game. That
oh yeah,
that this is not an or but an and conversation. So traditional top-down, captive, shotgun advertising using.
Here, Craig. You've got.
Well, there's no way.
Yeah, you got to talk really close.
So it's not going to go away. The inverted model or the VRM is going to complement the traditional model.
Yeah.
As opposed to replace it. So it's not like Google's in trouble. It's
no,
like they're irrelevant.
It's that you think they're irrelevant.
They're irrelevant.
You heard it here first, guys. Craig says Google's irrelevant. He said this before, and it's been true.
Well, type in Kynetx right now at Google, and then go type in Kynetx tweet and see what you get.
And search.twitter.com.
Yeah, really? Yeah.
Another question.
That's live web.
Yeah. Yes.
Doc, haven't seen you in a long time since we went Linux cruising.
Hi.
Lunacy cruising, back in the Caribbean sometime. But anyway.
That's right.
When I'm thinking about
You're
this,
one of my best sources, I should point out.
Oh, thank you. I
When you were at
appreciate
LSI Logic,
That's
right?
exactly right.
Exactly right.
Yeah. And now I just make life miserable for other people. But anyway, I'm looking at this third party, and fourth party, and thinking about an experience that I went through just last week trying to buy something in my little town of Pocatello, not really having any idea, Pocatello, Idaho, not having any idea who in town possibly might sell what it was that I was looking for. And I'm thinking about all of these little businesses, that satisfy 90% or more of our needs as consumers. And none of them have this third-party software and available. And almost nobody has fourth-party software available today, as well. But to make this thing happen, I think it has to happen at a very, very local level, with folks building a combination of a fourth-party, third-party piece of integration software that allows the little company who really can't afford to put up a huge CRM system to be able to make this happen. When it gets down simple enough that the little guys can do it, it will just revolutionize everything that happens in how we do business in our little town.
Yeah, thanks. I was talking last week to Perry Evans, who started MapQuest years ago, sold it to AOL. and it's been very active in the directory business. I think what you're talking about is a lot of those small companies will actually buy yellow pages, right? And those are useless. These they're borderline useless, but they still pay for them. There's a business there. There's a business in creating the apparatus that can express demand on this end and hear it on that end, or express availability on this end and hear it on this end. What Scott Adams proposed is, you know, I know I'm going to seal my driveway in the second week of June of next year, and I'm going to put that in the calendar, and you guys who are in that business locally can tell me what you've got at that point in time. That's the thing he tried to patent. I think there's a lot that can happen here. The thing that concerns me is that, and then this happens all over the place, is that a bunch of proprietary closed, you know, solutions will come up that somebody who's already been in the coupon business is going to want to control some small part of that in one municipality and be different in another one. So
That's the thing, I think we have to watch for.
Yeah.
To be able to easily broadcast and have somebody else really easily be able to pick it
Yeah.
up and say, I can do that.
Right, right, right. That's here. Yes.
So Doc, I really enjoyed your talk, but I'm thinking through this model, and to me, one of the things you just said stuck out, that you think there's a business model there.
Hold it closer as I can hear.
Can you hear me?
No,
Is that
yeah.
It's directional, I guess. So the this notion and the model you're building of first parties, second parties, third parties, and fourth parties, it doesn't really work for me. I think that you have like you're going to have this spectrum, right? It's a blurred line where you're going to have second parties that recognize this, that can do this all for themselves. You're going to have third parties. I don't know. It's hard to think. The thing that's a business model in my mind is finding, and this is I think what you were saying. There's these inefficiencies in the marketplace, and finding ways to eliminate those inefficiencies is going to be a benefit to the ecosystem. That's also something that can be monetized. Is that fair? I'll just let you kind of comment on what I've said.
Well, to clarify something in the first place, here's the thing I care about most. It's over here. Whatever the rest of what happens is less important.
Okay.
Personally, I think that what we've done since the net came along is worked a great deal in empowering the sellers to do a better and better and better job. And we're reaching maybe not the limit of that, but we're seeing an edge of it. And an edge of it is we can't know what only the customer can tell us. And our guessing doesn't work as well as learning directly. And our data systems tell us, well, we really can't be open to that much data because we're only, willing to listen to so much because we're busy controlling our systems. So how can we change that system so we can have the customers in charge of more of what they're doing? So what comes after that? I mean, there's all kinds of businesses that are possible there. But go ahead, because I don't know if that answers your question or not.
So it does, and I definitely agree with the points you just made. The thing, and I think this is iterating on the point he just made, that in most of these systems, you have a lot of redundancy. Like everyone's basically rebuilding exactly the same system. If you can get to the point where there's some open, federated way that everyone can take advantage of all of this data, with the context, then it's going to, like we keep saying, it's going to change everything.
I should add here that toward that end, and something really wonderful that's happened over the last 8 years is the set of developments that have gone on in the identity space. And I've been involved with some of those. Phil and Kalia, and to a lesser extent myself, organized something called the Internet Identity Workshops that actually grew out of a podcast, a Gilmore Gang podcast about personal identity and having individuals be in control of their personal identity. And one of the amazing things that happened there, and I want you to listen closely to Kim Cameron is in tomorrow, because Kim's the guy at Microsoft that probably opened Microsoft more than anybody else ever. He came out with the 7 laws of identity that I think the first one is user control and consent. Basically, they're laws of VRM, essentially. And I have pictures somewhere of Paul Trevithick and Kim arguing on either side of a whiteboard and gradually beginning the scaffolding that required to work these things out. I've been covering as a reporter and an editor Linux in the open source world for a very long time. And as those of us who have been involved in the open source world know, the tendency in the open source world is actually to fracture and have many competing solutions to things. what's happened in the identity world is there has been a convergence around a few things. Open IDs come out of that.